Welcome back. If you're like us, you appreciate getting straight to the point, getting the core information efficiently.
Absolutely. Time is valuable.
So, let's dive straight into something truly fascinating today. The very recent discovery of Prince Wazir-Ifri's tomb. It's in Saqqara, Egypt.
Ah, Saqqara. It's such an incredible sight. I mean, you have to picture this sprawling ancient cemetery, basically serving the capital, Memphis.
Right, the necropolis.
Exactly.
Wow.
For centuries, it was the place for royalty, for high-ranking officials. It's steeped in history.
And this find really adds another layer. What's amazing is the time frame it covers. Dr. Zahi Hawass led the mission.
A collaboration.
Yeah, with the Supreme Council of Antiquities and his own foundation. And they've found stuff from the Old Kingdom, that's Prince Wazir-Ifri's time, but also all the way up to the late period.
Which is much, much later, centuries later.
Right, so our mission for this deep dive, pull out the most interesting, the most significant bits from this discovery. What does it actually tell us?
And we're mainly looking at the press statement from Egypt's State Information Service.
That's the one, reported via Heritage Daily. It gives us a good initial overview.
Sounds like a solid plan. Definitely got people talking.
Okay, so the discovery itself. Saqqara, as we said, about 40 kilometers southwest of Cairo. Pretty standard location for these major finds, right?
Well, standard in that Saqqara is the key Old Kingdom royal burial ground near Memphis, yes. But every find there is potentially huge.
And the fact they've got Old Kingdom and late period finds in the same tomb, that immediately signals something complex is going on.
Absolutely. That time span is key. Was it reused? Was it added to? It opens up so many questions right away about how Egyptians viewed these spaces over vast stretches of time.
You immediately think layers of history.
Precisely. It's not just a snapshot of one moment.
So let's picture the tomb. The reports mention this enormous false door, pink granite.
Yeah, the size is striking, 4.5 meters tall, over a meter wide.
That's huge.
It really is. Pink granite wasn't cheap either. It screams high status right off the bat.
And it's covered in hieroglyphs detailing the prince's titles. And there are quite a few.
There really are. Things like hereditary prince, governor of Buto and Nekeb, royal scribe, vizier, judge, chanting priest.
Wow, that's a lot of hats to wear.
It tells you a lot about the Old Kingdom administration, actually. High officials often held multiple diverse roles. It suggests maybe a less specialized system than, say, the New Kingdom.
So he wasn't just a religious figure or just a political one. He was involved in everything.
Seems like it. A central figure, definitely close to the pharaoh, involved in administration, justice, religious rites, the works.
And speaking of the pharaoh, there's another entrance, right, on the east side, also granite.
Yes, a secondary one. And critically, it's inscribed with the prince's name and the cartouche of King Neferkare.
Okay, so a cartouche, we hear that term a lot. Remind us what that signifies exactly.
Basically, it's that oval shape you see around a royal name in hieroglyphs. Think of like a royal stamp almost.
Like a sign of authenticity or importance.
Both. It designates the name within it as royal, belonging to a pharaoh, sometimes a queen or prince. It emphasizes their unique status and offers symbolic protection.
So seeing Neferkare's cartouche there firmly places Prince Wazir-Ifri in that specific time, the 5th dynasty, and shows his direct connection to the king.
Exactly. It's a powerful marker of his time and his standing within that royal court. No ambiguity there.
Okay, so inside the tomb now, 13 pink granite statues. That's quite a collection.
It really is. And they're depicted seated on high-backed chairs. Must have been an impressive sight originally.
And there's speculation some of the heads might be his wives.
That's the current thinking, yes. It could give us a glimpse into his family life, the importance of lineage. These statues weren't just art. They had a crucial function in the afterlife.
As potential vessels for the spirit, right?
Exactly, substitute bodies, essentially. But there's also this detail about 2 headless figures and a toppled black granite statue found nearby.
What do you make of that? Damage over time or something else?
It's hard to say for sure without more analysis. It could be accidental damage from collapses or shifts over millennia, or it could be intentional desecration at some point in history. Tombs were sometimes disturbed.
Adds a layer of mystery, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Archaeology is often about piecing together these kinds of puzzles.
Okay, beyond the statues, they also found a red granite offering table.
Ah, yes, very important. These are quite common finds in elite tombs.
And this one apparently had a detailed list of ritual items on it. What was the purpose here?
Fundamentally, it's about providing for the deceased in the afterlife. The Egyptians believed the Ka, the life force or spirit, needed sustenance.
Like food and drink.
Yes, offerings would be placed on or near the table, or sometimes just the depiction or inscription of the offerings was considered magically effective. It's like a perpetual menu to ensure the prince wouldn't go hungry or thirsty for eternity.
A sort of magical guarantee.
In a way, yes, central to their whole belief system about the afterlife.
Now, things get really interesting with the timeline again. They found another statue, black granite this time, about 1.17 meters tall.
Right, a standing male figure.
But this one dates to the 26th dynasty. That's centuries after Prince Userkaf Ifra and the Old Kingdom.
Precisely. We're talking maybe 2,000 years later, depending on the exact dating.
So this, combined with finding King Neferker's cartouche earlier, really strengthens the idea that this tomb wasn't just sealed and left untouched, right?
Absolutely, is strong evidence for reuse. Finding a late period statue like this inside an Old Kingdom tomb strongly suggests later burials or activity.
Why would they reuse an ancient royal tomb like this? Was it common?
It wasn't uncommon, especially in a prestigious place like Saqqara. Reasons could vary. Maybe a shortage of prime burial spots by the late period. Maybe a desire to associate with the grandeur and the perceived power of the Old Kingdom ancestors.
Sort of borrowing some ancient prestige?
Potentially, yes. Or maybe it was seen as a particularly sacred or protected spot. It raises questions about who these later people were. Were they descendants? Or just wealthy individuals looking for a good location?
It really does show how these places lived on, didn't just die with the original owner.
Exactly. They remain part of the landscape, part of the ongoing religious and social life of the area.
And speaking of later additions and complexities, maybe the most surprising find reported is this statue ensemble of King Djoser.
Yes. Djoser, his wife, and their 10 daughters. That's quite something.
Djoser being the builder of the step pyramid even earlier than Prince Userkaf Ifra, 3rd dynasty.
Correct. A foundational figure in Egyptian history. And the initial thought is that these statues weren't originally in Userkaf Ifra's tomb.
Where did they come from?
The thinking is they likely originated from a chamber near Djoser's own step pyramid complex, just nearby in Saqqara.
And they were moved into Prince Userkaf Ifra's tomb.
Apparently so. Likely during the late period, the same era as that black granite statue we mentioned.
Okay, wait. Why move statues of Djoser, the legendary early king, into the much later tomb of a 5th dynasty prince? That seems odd.
It is remarkable. It poses fascinating questions. Was it an act of preservation? Perhaps the original location near the step pyramid was falling into disrepair or considered unsafe?
So moving them to another secure, maybe still respected royal tomb was a way to protect them.
That's one possibility. Or it could be an act of piety, or maybe even an attempt by the late period users of the tomb to connect themselves directly to the very origins of pyramid building and kingship.
By bringing Djoser symbolically into their own funerary space.
It's plausible. Associating yourself with Djoser would be a powerful statement. It really underlines how much value later Egyptians placed on these ancient figures and their representations.
It's like finding a portrait of George Washington inside a Victorian-era politician's crypt or something. Unexpected connections.
That's actually not a bad analogy. It highlights that sense of reaching back across centuries.
So let's try and wrap our heads around this deep dive into Prince Userkaf Ifra's tomb. It's given us quite a bit.
It really has. We've got a significant 5th dynasty royal tomb, first off.
Yeah, confirming the status of this prince through the sheer scale of the tomb, the granite, those numerous titles.
And the personal touch with those statues? Potentially his wives.
Yeah.
Plus the offering table showing the crucial funerary beliefs.
But then there's this whole other layer, the clear evidence of reuse centuries later.
Right, the late period statue is a key indicator there.
And the most unexpected part, really, is finding that Djoser ensemble moved into this tomb.
That relocation is particularly intriguing. It speaks volumes about the long, dynamic history of Saqqara, not just as a place of burial, but as an active landscape where the past was constantly being interacted with.
It makes you think, doesn't it? What does that act of repurposing a royal tomb or moving statues centuries later, what does that tell us about how their view of the past, or maybe their own priorities, changed over time?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Was it reverence? Pragmatism? A changing political or religious climate? It suggests a complex, evolving relationship with their own history.
Or, just thinking about Saqqara itself. If one tomb holds these multiple layers, these unexpected connections like Djoser's statues, what else is still buried out there?
Exactly. Saqqara has been yielding secrets for centuries. And discoveries like this remind us there's likely so much more still hidden beneath the sand.
It really underscores that archaeology isn't finished. It's this ongoing story, constantly adding new chapters, new complexities to our understanding.
Couldn't agree more. A fantastic find, and it leaves us with plenty to think about.